Welcome back to Coffee with Joy. So excited to have you all in the studio. So excited. Well, today we're talking about navigating adulting. Of course, I'll be talking to one of my fellow podcasters. So, of course, you know I'm in the brand new with Coffee with Joy. Well, of course, the fit is just simple because I want to show that hey, Coffee with Joy is meeting with our featured guest today, and we're more coming up after. So, have you ever started a podcast, a talk show, or just a speaking engagement, but sometimes you find it to hard. You find it hard to even proceed to even complete the task, or you start doubting yourself. Well, these fellow podcasters here have a quick remedy in order to overcome those fears or even making yourself better. Watch the clip.
Practice doesn't make perfect. Practice makes permanent. And I'm like, well, what are you practicing for hours and hours and hours? Are you mouth breathing? Are you slunched over? Are you taking shallow non-diaphragmatic breaths? What are you practicing? We know that you're going to default to your most practiced patterns.
You and I and everyone in our communities are always practicing something, even if it's an internal, invisible process. Practicing the way that we're listening to each other right now, practicing the way that we are trying to solve or optimize something, but it's a private, internal psychological experience. There's a practice in the way we respond. It's a practice in the way that we choose our words or language. That practice is materially important as well.
So there you all have it, people. In order to get over these humps, get over the fear, the doubts, the unbelief, you have to practice. Remember, practice doesn't make you perfect. It just keeps you in the know and to get better. So if anything else, if you're into wanting to be a speaker, doing a podcast, or even a talk show, you must practice in order to succeed to the next level. Well, I have my guest Amber in the building. Hey, Amber, how are you? She's in the building. So great to have her as we'll be talking about navigating adulting. What do you know about adulting? What is adulting? If you're an adult, I'm pretty much sure you can contest. So after these messages, we're going to talk to my guest Amber, navigating adulting.
Our mission focuses on showcasing local and global talent of all ages on and off the field. We will strive to inspire, educate, and bridge the divides through our media collaboration. Our goal is to give student athletes and coaches the platform to let their talents be seen and a platform for the community to let their voices be heard. This is the Union Media Group.
Welcome back to Coffee with Joy. So excited to have you all here. So now I have my guest Amber in the building. Hey, Amber, how are you?
Hello, I am good. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. So before we jump right in, can you tell people a little bit about yourself and your podcast? And then we're going to jump right into our conversation.
Yes, so my name is Amber, and my business is The Adulting Queen, helping people navigate adulting because nobody teaches you how to be an adult. And my podcast is Sippin Sunday, the podcast that actually started in the pandemic when I was doing just Zoom meetups with people while we're in the house, talking about different topics to navigate adulting. And now it is on season 2 of the podcast, doing the same things like we're going to talk about here, just talking about navigating adulting and how do we make it through this. So I've had my business for 5 years now, my podcast, and the platform Sippin Sunday for about 4 years now. Originally, I am from New York, and now I am based in Baltimore.
Yes, yes, yes. Sipping Sundays, of course, everyone who doesn't like Sipping Sunday, of course. So, what made
Exactly.
you, all right, what made you start this podcast, Adulting? I know, I'm going to say if I have to go out there, 100% can contest. They can really understand no matter what subtitle you bring up, everyone can contest. But what made you start this podcast in about adulting?
Yeah, so I think that my brand started because full time I'm an educator. I started out working in colleges and now I work for a nonprofit helping high school students navigate life after they graduate high school. So from working with my students at the time in 2019, they just always came to me asking like tons of different questions about random stuff that like wasn't necessarily related to what my job was at the time, but they just came asking like what do I do when I get a flat tire? Like, I'm about to start job searching. Like, how do I start doing that? How do I make friends? Like, literally just any question. And then personally, I love brunch and traveling. So I always was on the go somewhere once a month, always taking trips. And my friends always would ask me different tips and tricks and like where to go and itineraries and stuff like that. So I just started as an Instagram page and now it's become the podcast,
Much in undergrad.
merchandise, speaking engagements, all that kind of stuff. So it really just started because it was a hobby and something that people came to me asking a lot about, but it's continued to grow because I realized more than just the people in my circle needed this information.
Wow. Now, in this whole conversation, of course, this is a topic that can go on for hours, days,
Yes,
infinity, until the
please.
good Lord decide he wants to come back. It could go on and on because there's no remedy to this, right? Once you
No,
graduate from high
no.
school, it's like sink or swim. So which direction do you want to
Yes.
do? Sink or do you want to swim? So in your 4 years of talking about adulting, and of course I could go on even further, but within the 4 years, what has been like the primary thing where you find that adults have in your arena of discussing it with your certain individuals?
Yeah, so I think that like when I realized that the same themes keep coming up is also kind of why I just kept going and expanding and growing this and talking about adulting. And I'm not saying
Mhm.
that I'm the perfect adult or I know everything about adulting. I don't. I just want people to start talking about it and bringing people together to share resources. But for
Yeah.
sure, the things that always come up is like money, bills,
Yes.
how do you make friends, building community, moving, like getting a job. And I think one of the more recent topics that has come about with careers is like losing your job or leaving a
Yeah.
job and just the workplace etiquette and how things have shifted so much because of the pandemic. But I can say that no matter what age ranges I'm talking to, like everybody has those same issues with adulting. Like for a teenager
Yes.
is that they want to just start working, but they don't know how to start their path. For somebody in their 20s, they're trying to discover like what is adulting for me? Like what do I want to do? Somebody in their 30s, it's like, okay, I've been here for a little bit, but like this still is crazy. So like what do we do? And I have the people that are older being like, I wish somebody taught me what to do. And now I'm trying
Yeah.
to help like my grandkids, my nieces, my nephews, whoever it is that is trying to start their life as well.
Wow. Now, in this midst of like having all these people talking about adulting, like what is one resource that you can share with anyone? Because, like you stated, there's, to share the resources. Like, what is a primary resource that you would like to share with someone if someone is like having a serious issue on how to navigate their adulting?
I mean, the first thing I always say is to go to Google. I know that sounds so generic and basic, but a lot of things are in our phone. Like we can just search it or like search on
Mhm.
TikTok or type in whatever your question is. I think that for sure is like even just my first go to, even when there's things that I don't know. And then for myself, I would just say to anybody that if you do have a trusted adult or somebody that to you looks like they have it all together, but plot twist, we know that everybody doesn't have it all
Right.
together because everybody again can't know everything, but there is somebody
Yeah.
probably in your life that you perceive as that they know what they're talking about and you trust them and they seem to be doing things the way that somebody should, quote unquote, as an adult. So I would
Yeah.
say go to them because I always say my mom, my dad, my sister are the people who like helped me go into the direction that I'm in, because to me they were perceived as people that knew what they were doing, they were knowledgeable, they were always able to solve a question that I had or help provide a solution, which then gave me the skills to continue doing that for myself.
Awesome. And the reason why I asked the resource, because just as much as we want to hear from so many, professionals to give us that one quick answer, when reality, like you stated, just the
No, it's
Google,
not.
some
Yeah,
you got to start somewhere. And knowing that we have the World Wide Web at our fingertips, we're able to just find the perfect information that we need just to start chiseling at what needs to get done. As you stated,
exactly.
money issues, bills, or how to find resource in order to trying to make the bills or trying to just have a
For sure.
decent life or a better job, right? And it starts right there, because I don't think it's cliche. I think it's perfect, because again, when you
Yeah.
start there, and then outside of that is even social media. I guarantee you put a question out
Yes.
there, someone would definitely resonate and say, hey, oh, that's easy. Just go here and go there. Because believe it or not, I know social media could be very rude at times, but there's some great people. I truly believe. I mean, if they can tackle and find find where people live, where people work in a matter of seconds, I'm pretty much sure they can find resources that can really pinpoint you into a direction that could really help you. So I seen it could be done. But like you stated, adulting is
Exactly.
not easy. It's not hard, but it's just how you just take it into stride, right? So in the midst of,
Exactly.
you're talking to guests and, having various guests on the show, what are like some of the testimonies that people have shared with you, along their journey as being an adult? Because once you hit 18, this is it. There's no, oh, you're going from back to being an infant. Prayfully, nothing happens, right? We know sickness is something that takes place, but prayfully, nothing like that happened. But once you become 18, you are an adult, or I'm gonna just say 21. Once you hit 21, you are an adult. So as you move forward, like what has been like a testimonial that people have shared with you, as whether it could be praise or something that's like daunting, or just trying to like take it day by day. Amber, I think we probably I think she's frozen. We'll be right back after these messages. Probably have Amber come right back on in. Latest news, today's news, current news, gossip news, you name it. I am your host with Coffee with Joy, as I share any up-to-date news that's taking place around the world. But if you would like to check it out, please make sure you go to my YouTube channel, Coffee with Joy, where I share the latest topic. I am your host with Coffee with Joy with today's topic. Welcome back to Coffee with Joy. Please make sure that you like, subscribe, and follow Coffee with Joy. Please make sure that if you would like to patronize our show, please make sure you stay tuned. We will have up our Q codes as far as our PayPal or our PayPal information, as well as our Cash App. Hey, Amber, yes,
Hello,
no
I don't know
worries.
what that was about. Adulting is ghetto, just like we talked about, and then here we
That's
are.
okay. Right? That's part of adulting. Things happen, but it's
Yes.
okay. We still maneuver. Glad to have
Yes.
you back. Glad everything
Thank
worked
you.
out. But
So I heard that you were
so
saying the last part that I heard was you were asking
mhm.
what are some testimonials that guests and people that I've interviewed have had.
Correct. Like, what is it, like a praise or daunting? Something that really stuck out with you by talking to people? Because some things could be like so awestruck, like, what? Oh my God. Like, because again, you're on earth not to make all the mistakes yourself, right? You're not going to
Yes.
have all the ahs and the oh my goodness. You may have one or a few, right? But there's something that you probably heard along your way that really stuck with you, if you don't mind
Yeah.
sharing.
No, of course. I think that the biggest piece for me has been everybody has a story and everybody is on their own journey, like no matter what that would be. But one person that stands out to me was one of the guests. His episode was titled "It's All God." I met him in Baltimore networking at events, and he's a chef. And then we just kept seeing each other, running into each other, and eventually we just started talking. And he actually had came to Baltimore because he was an alcoholic, and he came to Baltimore for rehab.
Mm,
But the point of when I met him, obviously don't know your whole life. But when I like started to hear that, I was like, oh my God, really? Like you would never know basically based on now how he like lives his life, how he shows up, how generous he is, how kind he is, how much joy he like exudes. You just wouldn't have thought that he went through something like that. So I think that
mhm,
his story and just anybody else that I speak to, it's like you only know somebody from where you met them at, but you don't know
Yeah.
like what they've experienced before that, or what they're going to experience, or what they're going through until you actually
Hmm.
like talk to somebody and ask. And I've had guests on my podcast that I never have met a day in my life. I've had people that I
Yeah.
know from business, or I had some of my close friends on. And even my close friends, I just appreciate them sharing parts of their story that even though I've known them for 10 plus years, again, adulting comes and you're like ripping and running, going to work, you have kids, people are getting married, like life is happening. But to actually be able to just like sit down and speak with somebody about what
Yeah.
their like testament of their life is. And that's something that I always enjoy about interviewing people, because everybody
Mm.
has a story. And I think that that sometimes is what makes it difficult for me, honestly, to figure out who to have on, because I do
Yeah.
feel like everybody has a story that will resonate with somebody. And for me to want people to be exposed to all different types of people from all different walks of life, it gets hard because I can talk to anybody about their story and like pull something out of it to be of benefit for others.
Oh yeah, facts. We all have a story. If you're able to talk or some type of verbal communication, whether it's non or verbal, we all have our
Yeah,
story. Because once you hit that threshold of 21 plus, you realize, wow, life is not what I thought. If the person in your life did not set you up, and that's like I want to say 10 times out of 10, quite a few people are not set up correctly. Meaning that, like, if I my own testimony here. I believe I lived such a structured life when I was younger because you go to school, I went to cheerleading practice, I had softball practice, so I was in linear, I was in place. And then once I
yeah,
graduated, it was like, whoa, okay, if you don't get up, you don't get up. You don't go
yeah,
to class,
exactly,
you know. It's a mindset and a mind shift where you really have to reverse and really get yourself together, knowing that, hey, if it's not going to get done, no one's not going to be there to prep you to get it done. So you really have to
exactly,
shift your mind if you don't have anyone telling you, hey, or prep you up or saying, here's an intern or some type of extracurricular activities that's going to pull you
exactly,
into, further education. So, and for the most part, I know we don't have many people there. And many people say they were just thrown into the waters and they just had to basically
exactly.
sink or swim. And you do both because there's been times like, hey, I sunk, but by the grace of God, I was able to swim,
Amen.
because it's not only
Amen.
financial, it's like a whole
No,
circumference of
yeah.
thing, your mental.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. And I think that with adulting, like it really is not just money, health, like family and accomplishments, but I think that that's just what we have been trained to think
Mhm.
about adulting. Like if somebody's having a wedding, like everybody's going to show up. But if somebody lost their job, everybody's not showing up for them. Somebody's
Mm.
having a baby, everybody's showing up for them. Somebody gets kicked out of their house, everybody's not showing up for them. So it's like, just how do we welcome adulting with everything that it brings and not put such markers on our life of like when you hit 30 you
Yeah.
should do this, when you hit 40 you should do this, when you graduate high school you should do this, when you graduate middle school you should do this, like oh you're 18 you should have done all these things by now, or you
Yeah.
should have known
Yeah.
this. Like I just personally don't believe that people should know. I won't say like certain things like hygiene or like how you show up places are kind of like cultural norms that like yes people as a society should know, but the general population does not know nearly as much of the knowledge that we perceive they should by the time they get to a certain
Correct.
place. So again, my whole thing is just trying to talk about adulting without shaming people, without people making people
Yeah.
feel bad about why they aren't at a certain place that they're supposed to be at. Because to your point, it does greatly depend on your upbringing, like where you came from and the resources
Hmm.
and what your life was set up to be or not be when you were born. Because none of us asked to be here. And I think that's like the most annoying part about adulting, because we did not ask to be here. We enjoyed being a kid, and then we're just like, wait a second, like I have to wake myself up, like I have to get to work, like I have to do these things that I might not want to do. Like that's what
Yeah.
is the struggle about adulting.
Yeah. I must do it because if not, Time is going to
Exactly.
pass by and you're going to realize. And then, not to say outside factors come into place, right? When you're adults, and meaning that sickness, you know, issues that
Yeah.
burdens that became your burden you did not even know. You know, you may have lost your grandmother. That becomes a burden because she was the matriarch of the family. Now you have to shift some things around. So many things that life does not. No one, and if I could just stand out there and say it's a fact, no one will be able to prepare you for life, no matter what the situation may be or how they're,
No, for sure.
how they're prepping you. So it's, I think, I know
Yeah.
this is always going to be a great topic because someone will everybody will have a story, and it will be a successful story because it's like it has its ups and it has its mountains and has its valleys. So you're going to meet each point in your life because I know between both of us, we have our mountains and we have our valleys. We could bring
Yes,
everything to the
for
table.
sure.
Yeah. So
Exactly.
after
And I
this,
think
we're going to
that,
watch a quick video.
oh yeah.
Oh no, go ahead. I'm sorry, Amber. Go ahead.
I was gonna say that when you were saying like how everybody has their stories, everybody has their highs and lows, and I think that the biggest part is like your mindset and just like wanting to change, but you have
Yeah.
to usually see somebody doing something that you want to do before you can change it. So like high school students, it's just so interesting to me because they view the world of like they do want to make money, they want to have a career, they want to have a successful life, but they're not seeing how to get there or how
Yeah.
to do
Yeah.
that, but they're doing nothing. So it's like if you do nothing, you're not going to get anything, but something has not clicked to them that it's like being an adult means I make my own choices. And I think part of that goes back to like in school, you're told what to do all the time.
Yeah.
Like you're told where to go, when to be there, when class is over, how you get your grades. But the world doesn't work like that. The world is literally sink or swim and good luck. I hope you pay your taxes on time. Like that's really what happens.
Yes. Pay your taxes, me, because they will
Yeah.
garnish your check, and you will be like, "Whoa, yes, pay your taxes." But I mean, I mean, it has its ups and downs, right? And when you look at it, it's like, wow, you're coming from, whether you believe it or not, it is a structured life coming into an
Yeah.
unstructured,
Yeah.
trying to structure, trying to maintain and put all the pieces together. So that
Exactly.
just, it's just mind blowing. But after this video, we're going to watch a quick video of Amber as she did a live podcast video back a couple of months ago, and just watch this quick video, and then we're going to continue to talk about what has taken place here. Latest news, today's news, current news, gossip news, you name it. I am your host with Coffee with Joy as I share any up-to-date news that's taking place around the world. But if you would like to check it out, please make sure you go to my YouTube channel, Coffee with Joy, where I share the latest topic. I am your host with Coffee with Joy with today's topic. So we're going to watch this quick video.
To coming out, supporting the adulting queen. This is the start of like takeoff and going, and I'm listening to everything you all said about resting, saying no. So please hold me accountable to that, because that is definitely a part of this too. It's a journey. We can't do this alone. I greatly cannot say enough how much I appreciate everybody that came out, that said words. Shout out to my family, because you all did great. Close together, had me crying. We don't do that, but they had me crying.
You do that.
So I don't. Maybe 2024. We'll reevaluate. Circle back next
Maybe
year.
you've done it twice today.
Okay, that's neither here nor there. Thank you, everybody. Cheers to the adulting.
Cheers, cheers, cheers.
Yes. So you did your live event celebrating
Yeah, I
5
did.
years. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So I had to pause because I'm actually like getting emotional again watching that video come back because I because it was like what I envisioned really came to life. And one thing about me is every time I like do want something or I dream of something, like it happens. And that is
Yes.
good, but scary. Like it's a scary feeling of
Yeah.
like, how does this always keep happening and working out? But on the other side, I know it's because I put in the work to get there. So to do a live podcast show was overwhelming to see it actually come together. And then on the other side, it really has been what's continued to motivate me to keep showing up and keep doing things for my business and keep trying to think of ways to expand this because people need it. But I'm very much still carrying, this is like 6 months later now, carrying the joy and all the feelings from that event because it was just like, I can't believe all these people came out to hear me talk about adulting, even though I do it individually. Like that was the first large group for my business. Like I've spoken to hundreds of people at conferences. I've spoken to hundreds of students at orientation and events, but to do something that's like solely mine and like without me doing anything towards it, like that wouldn't have happened. That's why it's like so overwhelming even today, like seeing it back.
Right. Wow. First, congratulations, because like
Thank
we
you.
said in the early clip, it comes with practice, right? It comes with practice and really staying focused. And we talked about it earlier, it's really with me, it's really prayer. You asking God, and nothing else. I believe in me, and I tell people, you got to believe in you no matter what. Even if
Yes.
things don't even
Yes.
look right, you got to believe. Only you and God know the vision.
Yes.
And the vision's from the heart,
Yes.
sight by the eyes, right? So to see it come to fruition is like really, yeah, it's really like how and why. Because at one point out, you didn't even know how to chisel a plan. You didn't even have a blueprint. And now
No.
look, you're running the
No.
whole city. You had this
Exactly.
whole event come to pass, and that's the joy of it. And those are your mountains, where at least I can appreciate my mountain as I move forward, because people need to understand it takes a lot of work, just to be right
All
here,
right.
to carry on with a conversation, to be able to hold a conversation. It's not as easy as one may think, right?
No, not at
You and I
all.
could be on the phone talking, but to be here, even though we're not in front of people, we're in front of people, because we know people are going
Yeah.
to come back and watch, and they're actually looking like, oh wow. Some people are, how they carry on, how they're able to keep the conversation to flow. And it's so much to it, right? It's so much detail that goes
Yeah.
into it that people don't understand. And to do it live and really keep the people really on edge and having that conversation. So like, how was the structure of the day? Hopefully the
Yeah.
next 5 years or next year, I'll be able to be in attendance, because I know just the
Yes.
feeling. Because when I saw your clip, I was like, I see you, God.
Oh,
I
thank
see you
you.
working. I see you
Thank
working.
you.
Yes,
Thank
yes.
you.
Because
I
he sends
appreciate
little
that.
sparks to keep you going. And when I saw it, I was like,
Yes.
oh, yes, this definitely would be a clip in the video. So, like, how did it all
Thank you.
structure? Like, what was the crowd participation? What was the
Yeah.
feeling? And, like, how long was the event?
Yeah. Oh my God. See, this is like so the event. I first thought of doing a live one in September. And I remember I was at my friend's birthday brunch and just randomly I was like, I want to do a live podcast and I want to have brunch bites and I want to have people come in and be able to taste alcohol from black owned brands and have a
Mm,
DJ. And I was like, I don't know the rest of it right now, but that's what I thought of so far. And somebody that was with me was like, well, what kind of food do you think you want to have? Like, what do you want to do for this? What do you want to do for that? And all
yeah.
those things that I said, like, happened. So
Mm,
I planned it in September is when I started. And then I reached out to one of my close friends, the host, Sharif, who was really everybody that came together for this, the host Sharif, the DJ Chris, the events team, Bomu Events, and then the alcohol vendors and the actual venue, Creative Alliance, like all of it worked so well that it's like
yeah.
this is now a package deal. Like everybody has to do this together for one
Yes.
to keep
Yes.
it moving forward. But I think that one of the biggest pieces that made it so successful for me is that the host, because we've known each other since undergrad, but he was able to ask questions that were pulling things out of me that I wouldn't just automatically say. But I think
Yeah.
that a value that I have of working with him and the DJ, who have been basically like lifelong friends, is that
Mm,
we're such close friends, but we can work well together. And you can't work well with all of your friends. And I was
yeah.
nervous about that going in because yes, we've done stuff in college together. We've just like done random like happy hours, whatever. But this is my business and I'm very serious about it. So I was like, they're probably going to get annoyed with me because I'm going to be like, we're not doing this. We're not doing that. This is what I expect. But everything ran together great. And then basically when the guests walked in, they were able to get drinks from the bar that were signature drinks tied to like adulting things. So I had like an adultini, adulting margarita. You would taste the black owned brands. We had Monita tequila and Cask and Cane rum. You could shop my merchandise, photo space, and then the DJ was in the main spot when they walked in. I had myself and Sharif talking initially, and then one by one, I brought my family up. So I brought my mom and my dad and my sister, and Sharif just had certain questions for them, and mostly reflecting on like, obviously they've known me my whole life. So me as a child, did they envision this? Like, what do they envision for the business? Did they even understand what the business was? And all of them were like, no, we didn't know what was going on. We just showed up, supported, and we didn't get it. But now we
Right.
get it because we see what's happening and we hear her talk about it more. But the other thing was that like there was a mix of friends, people I've met in Baltimore, and like people I don't know at all, which is what made it more overwhelming to me because again, this is a large crowd of people now that I'm talking about something that I'm really passionate about for the first time in this setting. So I was just like, what is
Yeah.
going on here? And then lastly, for the crowd interaction, to your question, it was like great because of the host and the DJ because they had their little the fire bombs that he was dropping at different moments or the songs that the
Mhm.
DJ was putting on, and then we had like a this or that, so kind of like a talk show. Like I was very
Yeah.
sparse with details when people kept asking me like what's going to happen at it. I was just like, just think
Mm.
about it as a talk show because I didn't want you to know what's going to happen exactly before you got there. So
Yeah.
it was like this or that questions. People had cards under their seats for giveaways. People were able to take pictures, and then after the DJ was still playing music, and they were able to like mingle, still get drinks, shop, and all that stuff. So all in all, I couldn't have imagined that day going any better than what it did. Like it was a great day.
Wow. It sounds like a fun-filled day. That is awesome.
And I'll be
Congratulations.
planning.
Because
Thank you. I will be planning another one in the summer. So everybody,
yes.
stay tuned. I haven't announced the date yet, but the summer another one will happen.
Also, and you know, when putting on events and really trying to bring your vision to light when people don't really see it, and some people are not even trying to imagine what it looks like, it's, you know, it's always great when you're on the other side. Now people really like, wow, she did
Yes.
it. I see what she's doing. I
Yes.
see what she's putting together. You know, of
Exactly.
course, there's so many other people who are doing it, but this blueprint is different. God has structured me to do it this way and to bring out
Yes.
certain people. And it's a piece that you said where people who came out that you did not know, that really speaks volume, because when people come out to celebrate you, you don't even know where they're coming from. It's like, wow. So I
Yes.
am the little that I have as a mustard seed is going to definitely mount to something great.
Exactly.
And that shows, whether if it was five people that you didn't know, those five people I did not know came out to support me, spoke volume. And I know God is a
Exactly.
multiplier, so he's going to
It is.
completely bring that
Yes.
over to 15 to 25 and so forth, you know. So it's always great. And it's just, you know, what I'm saying, I try to tell myself, you know, always, you know, Joy,
Exactly.
believe in you. At the end of the day, you're going to be the great talk show. Hey, you be who you are, you're going to go further. So I commend you, because again,
Exactly.
it's not hard, it's not easy, but when you get the strife and you continue to go, and when you on this side of the event, it's like, wow, people really get to see the vision that came to light, and it brings so
Yes.
much connection. So many people come together and able to really help to create the next vision. So again,
Exactly.
congratulations. I truly, truly
Thank you.
appreciate
Thank
it.
you. Thank
So
you.
I would like to know, how did you get Sipping Sunday? How did that name come about?
Yes. Yes, it's like now you're reading my mind because that was actually the next thing that I was thinking about to make sure that I
Mhm.
say why. So
Yeah.
again, 2020, we're in the pandemic, in the house, don't know what is going on in this crazy world at that time, and I was just like called up one of my friends. We were on the phone, and I was like, "Oh, I think we were talking about like how we were always outside walking and we were trying new recipes, doing new things because that's what everybody was doing those first
Right.
2 months in quarantine." So somehow we just were like, let's just host a Zoom and talk about wellness and see what happens. Like, let's see who comes. And I was just like,
Yeah.
okay, like I'll think about like what's the theme gonna be, or like what's this gonna be called, or what is this gonna look like. And I was just like, Sippin Sunday, because again, we're in the house just drinking most of the days because we were just like, what's going on here? But on top of that, I love brunch. And also the part that I need to talk about this part of it more, because people always just think it's brunch and drinking. But in the pandemic, I started watching church virtually like every week, and that's what got me back
Yeah.
into like church. Because as a kid, like I just didn't like waking up early. My mom would have to be pulling me out the bed, and eventually she just gave up that fight. So like I really didn't attend church frequently as a kid, but it wasn't like
Yeah.
I didn't like church or I didn't believe in God. I just wasn't getting up early in the morning
Yeah.
fighting with my mom to make it to church. But in the pandemic, I did start watching church every Sunday. So it was like church was brunch is Sunday fun day. And then we have Sippin Sunday at night. Everybody comes on, relax. We have music in the beginning. And eventually it evolved to having like giveaways. So many of my friends just met other people. And even for those people I didn't know were coming on. And we had guests that I've never even met before and still to this day haven't met, came on and like shared their knowledge on different topics. And so I did it for almost I did it for a long time. Like I started in April and I think I went all the way to December or January. I can't even remember how long I did it, but I tried to start it back up in that format in like 2021 or early 2022, but people weren't really trying to be on Zoom like that anymore because we were back to work or like we were just tired of screens, whatever. So I just took a moment to like regroup and I was like, okay, to continue moving this forward, and it's because it's something that I actually really enjoy doing, I need to finally put it on a podcast format, because everybody was like, are you going to start a podcast? Are you going to start a podcast?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was like, I don't want to start a podcast. I don't want to be a podcaster. Like, I just want to talk about adulting. But as I sat back, I was like, that is the easiest way to put it out there that people can always go back to listen to it. And that's a thing that's gonna grow my business more. But the biggest thing that I was telling myself is that if I'm gonna do this podcast, I'm not gonna make a podcast that I do it for a couple months and I stop. I was like, I'm gonna do a podcast and actually be consistent. First season, rocky, but I mean, we finished it. I didn't do it every
Yeah.
Sunday. Things happen. But this season, like I have pushed myself to be like, okay, if for some reason I have to skip one Sunday, like I'm only skipping one Sunday. I'm not skipping couple Sundays and people don't know what's going on. I was like, I'm going to put this out every Sunday.
Yeah.
And that is now why we have the podcast, because I finally made the choice to myself that I'm going to be consistent posting this podcast so that I can continue growing my business. I can do live podcasts. I can come on guests of shows and talk about the podcast. So that's how it came about. That's how we have it in the podcast form. You're welcome, everybody, because it was hard for me personally to do it, but the people love it. So you're welcome.
Yes, Sipping Sunday, everyone. So if you're looking to hear another podcast, Sipping Sunday across all platforms. So
Yeah.
we know it's not easy, but it's not hard because of course, whatever formula you use, can get the word out, formula that you use in order to keep Amber going, whether through a prayer, scripture,
Yes.
affirmation. What is something that keeps Amber going? Because, like you stated, you making sure that I'm sticking to this every Sunday. I'm making sure that I keep my vision in front of me. So, what keeps Amber's vision going? Like through prayer, scripture, or affirmation, or a quote, something that keeps
Yeah.
Amber going.
Yeah. One, I feel like doing stuff like this and then just remembering like all the conversation I have with my friends, because they always are about the same stuff, which then goes back to like my routine and how I just keep myself motivated. Of like, one, I journaled a lot. I have not as much anymore, but I journal up and down, reading for sure. I have the Peloton app and a bike, and I've also been very dedicated for the past like 3 months, maybe now, maybe 2 or 3 months, I've gotten blue dots every day. And I just realized that like when I feel good, I can actually be productive and do things and move forward with what I need to get done. And it's like the days that I'm just like, ugh, like I don't want to do anything, I still do it because I've like forced myself to do it for so long that it just comes as a habit. And the
Yeah.
current book I'm actually reading is Atomic Habits. And I'm like, I wish I started that book sooner. It's been on my list to read
Okay.
forever, but somebody actually gifted it to me. So I was like, okay, I'm going to read this now. And that's been a huge help. And
Okay.
on top of that, I would say that the last thing with the quote or like what I just always think to myself is like eat the frog, which ironically comes from the first Sippin Sunday I ever did, was a part of the
Hmm.
wellness one. And it was just like do the thing that you're putting off, because once you do it, you're gonna realize that like it really wasn't as hard or didn't go bad. You just had a lot of negative thoughts, or you were doubting yourself, or you were not wanting to do it for whatever reason. But once you did it, you were like, okay, this really was silly for me to put this off for so long.
I totally agree. Again, thank you so much, Amber. You are a wealth of knowledge into adulting. Of course, we all walking this together, people, but little by little, we
Yes,
can help one another to master
for
ourselves through
sure,
this adulting
for sure.
or trying to get through this adulting hood. But please make sure that you like, subscribe, follow Coffee with Joy on all platforms. And if you would like to patronize our company, please make sure that you look at our Zelle, our PayPal, as well as our Cash App, and further information onto our website. As you all know, we're looking forward to updates. If you'd like to be a guest, please make sure that you go to our email, which is the coffee with joy show at gmail.com. And as you all know, if it's a weekday or weekend, it is Coffee with Joy. Until then, live life on purpose, and you all have a blessed day or night. We kick it like no